Quran memorization. Why is it that so many people have memorized the Quran? Why is it that there's so much emphasis on memorizing the Quran? As an ex-Muslim, this is something I thought about, and I have a few thoughts on the matter. Let me tell you a story. Back in 2018, I made a friend, a young man whose favorite video of mine was the productivity loss of memorizing the Quran. His dad wasted years of his life forcing him to memorize Quran in a madrasa instead of learning regular subjects. He never understood what was the point of memorizing a book you couldn't understand. He loved school and loved learning, but missed out because of his strange obsession of his dad, like many other Muslim parents, to have their kids memorize the Quran. When he got into high school, he had to work extra hard to make up for the lost time. It was tough, but he managed to succeed despite studying behind everyone else. This is what he told me. This is what he told me himself. I know other kids in real life were in similar situations where have been pulled out of school while being homeschooled just to memorize Quran. And what a horrible, repetitious task it is to sit there and read Quran over and over and over again. It's almost worse than working at Amazon. One of the most troubling aspects of Quran memorization is how many young children have some of the most precious hours robbed away from them to memorize this useless junk. Young children were taken out of school often for 1 or 2 years at a time just so they can sit and memorize. Why did Muhammad want people to memorize the Quran so badly? Why is it so important? Well, the Quran itself, if you recite it from beginning to end, it's about 24 hours of recitation, more or less depending on the speed. If you did 1 page a day, every single day, 7 days a week, it would take you more or less 2 full years. 3 years if you just did Monday to Friday. So why do people put so much effort in getting the kids to memorize Quran? Especially, you find even non-religious parents will send their kids to memorize Quran. They don't pray, mom doesn't wear hijab, dad doesn't really do anything Islamic, maybe goes for Jummah on Friday, but still they put the kids in Quran class. Why is there so much emphasis on this? You know, the words are supposedly the highest ranks in paradise. Your parents get a crown of light on the Day of Judgment. The Prophet said the best person is one who learns the Quran and teaches it. There's 10 rewards for every letter recited. The Quran will intercede for the memorizer. You'll be saved from the fire, and so on and so on. Is the Quran a miracle because it's memorized? Absolutely not. Once you brainwash people, they will do anything for you. If you tell them you're talking to God, you can convince them to drink Kool-Aid and basically wake up the next day thinking that they're going to be transported to a spaceship, alien spaceship, like what happened in Jonestown, Guyana. When you brainwash people, they'll do anything. And when you convince them, they'll even die for your cause. And so promising these big rewards is going to motivate people. What about non-Muslim examples of people who memorize a lot? There's this one guy, his name is Richards. He's very good at Scrabble. He's thought to be the best English-speaking Scrabble player in the world. He's won the USA National Scrabble Championship 5 times and the World Championship 3 times, and he also won the French Scrabble Championship without speaking a word of French. He memorized every single word. There's also people who's memorized the Bible. The thing is, people don't bother doing that because it's not emphasized, right? Why did Muhammad want it emphasized? Simple. Because that was the only way to preserve it back then. The Arabs were not a written society, they were an oral society. That's how they preserved things, right? There wasn't a culture of reading and writing. Even Muhammad was unlettered, supposedly. Now my point is, in today's world, where you have reading and writing, where you have mass media, where you have, a way, when you're able to mass produce books, this has become the biggest waste of time ever. You see this emphasis in Islamic literature, in Islamic teaching, to memorize not just the Quran, but other books as well. Hadith books are memorized, other religious texts are memorized, poems and whatnot. This guy is 22 years old and he has memorized all 23 book collections of Hadith. He's being quizzed here by the Hadith scholar and in Mecca, Sheikh Yahya ibn Abdul Aziz, where part of the Hadith is given to him and he has to finish it off and say which collection or collections it's in.
قوم يتعبدون أكمل.
حدث أنس رضي الله عنه قال ذكر أنه سلم قال ولم أسمعه منه ذكر أننا أقواما يعبدون ويذبون حتى يعجب بهم الناس وتعجبهم نفوسهم يمرقون من دين خرجه أحمد.
I wouldn't be surprised if he knows the isnad or the chain as well. Narrated this guy that he heard while sitting on a donkey from his uncle, that his father heard from his nephew, that Muhammad said, da 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 da. Wouldn't being familiar with these 23 books of hadith and knowing how to apply them be more useful? Couldn't all that time spent rote memorizing, in this case probably thousands of hours, be better used with digesting and applying the material? I mean, what an absurd thing to praise, as if you're so, like you've accomplished something. Like imagine people tried to memorize entire law books. It would be so ridiculous. Imagine lawyers trying to memorize these things. It's just so absurd and ridiculous. Because back then, the only way to preserve it was to memorize it, right? Why would God want all of these kids to spend all of these hours memorizing a book? Especially if it's not in the language and they can't even understand it and they can't even speak a word of Arabic. You're literally just memorizing lines, some of which nobody even knows what it means, like Alif, Lam, Mim, right? What does that even mean? A-L-M, right? If you want to translate it, right? There's so much repetition in the Quran, stories upon stories of Moses and, Jonah in the belly of the whale. Like, what is God gaining from kids memorizing all these stories, right? And on top of it, only a small percent of the world is Arab. Like barely anyone speaks Arabic that is memorizing the Quran. I think more Pakistanis have memorized the Quran than Arabs, right? What a waste of time and energy. What a waste of young, precious minds. We need to free people from this mental slavery, from this slavery to this imaginary being who wants him to give up all their precious time doing something completely pointless, memorizing Muhammad's grand poetry, which, is cursing disbelievers in every other sentence. Let's help them to be free of this slavery. This is Abdullah Samir, signing out.